By the time the video hit 5 million views, she had already lost her job, her fiancé, and her dignity. What she didn't know was who had just seen it. If you enjoy emotional stories that stay with you, like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The clip was only 42 seconds long. That was all it took. 42 seconds of shaky footage, harsh laughter, and one sentence that changed everything. You didn't really think this was real, did you? Elara Monroe didn't remember collapsing. She remembered the sound first. Phones being lifted. A few sharp gasps. Someone laughing too loudly, too eagerly. Then silence. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort you. The kind that waits. They were supposed to be celebrating. The rooftop was dressed in soft white lights, champagne glasses lined neatly along the railings, and the city skyline glowing behind them like a promise. Her engagement party. Her moment. The night she finally believed she had made it, not just in her career, but in life. She'd worn the blue dress he liked. The one he once said made her look elegant enough. She remembered smiling when Caleb reached for the microphone. She thought he was nervous. She was wrong. "I just want to be honest," Caleb said, grinning, eyes flicking briefly toward his friends. "Because honesty matters." Someone in the crowd chuckled. Elara's fingers tightened around her glass. "And honestly," he continued, "this was never meant to go this far." The smile froze on her face. "What do you mean?" she asked softly, leaning closer so only he could hear. He didn't answer her. Instead, he turned back to the crowd. "It started as a joke," he said. "A bet, actually." That word landed wrong. A few people laughed, assuming it was part of the speech. A setup. A punchline coming. There was a question, Caleb continued, "Boy, steady now." "Too steady." "About whether someone like her would believe someone like me wanted forever." Her stomach dropped. "Caleb," she whispered. "Stop." He didn't look at her. "I guess we all underestimated how easy it would be." The phones came up then. Not all at once. One, then another, then several. Elara could see her reflection in the black glass of the nearest screen. Her eyes wide. Confused. Still smiling because she didn't understand yet. Lydia laughed first. It was sharp. Triumphant. "Oh my God," Lydia said. "Just say it." Caleb exhaled like he'd been waiting for permission. "You were never my fiancé," he said. "You were an experiment." The word echoed. Experiment. "I mean, come on," he added lightly. "You should have known. This isn't exactly," he gestured vaguely between them. "Balanced." Someone murmured, "Damn." Someone else whispered, "That's cold." Elara felt the world tilt. Her mind tried to reject what her ears were hearing. Tried to rearrange it into something less brutal. "This isn't funny," she said, louder now. "You don't joke like this." Caleb finally looked at her. And the look on his face, not cruel, not angry, just embarrassed. Like she'd misunderstood the rules of a game everyone else knew. "I thought you'd figure it out sooner," he said. "But you kept believing." Lydia stepped closer, heels clicking against the tile. "You really thought he was serious?" she asked, tilting her head. "About marriage?" Elara turned to her best friend. "Lydia," she said. "You knew?" Lydia's smile faltered for half a second. Then hardened. "It wasn't supposed to go public like this," she said. "But honestly? You were getting too comfortable." Too comfortable. The words didn't make sense. "I helped him rehearse the proposal," Lydia continued. "You should have seen your face that night. I almost felt bad." Almost. Elara's chest tightened. She tried to speak, but the sound wouldn't come. Caleb glanced around, suddenly aware of how many people were recording. "Well," he said, shrugging. "Guess there's no point pretending anymore." Someone in the crowd laughed again. Nervous this time. The camera closest to her zoomed in. She could hear her breathing then. Too fast. Too shallow. Her knees buckled. Not dramatically. Not the way it looks in movies. Just enough for her balance to fail. She reached for the railing and missed. The last thing the video captured was her falling to the ground, hands shaking, dress twisted beneath her as laughter rippled behind the lens. Then the clip cut. The internet did the rest. By morning, the video was everywhere. Titled. Captioned. Remixed. Engagement prank gone wrong. She really thought he loved her. This is why you don't date above your level. 5 million views before noon. Elara didn't see most of it. She saw the email first. Subject line, "We need to talk." From HR. Then another. And another. By the time her phone started ringing, she already knew. Given the recent attention, the voice on the other end said carefully, "We think it's best you take an indefinite leave." Indefinite. She stared at the wall while the words sank in. "I didn't do anything wrong," she said. "We understand," the voice replied. "But perception matters." The call ended politely. Final. By evening, her phone was silent. No apology from Caleb. No explanation from Lydia. Just strangers. Strangers dissecting her face. Her reactions. Her worth. She should have known. He was out of her league. Why do women like this always think? She turned the phone face down. Her apartment felt smaller than it ever had. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap, replaying every moment she'd ignored. Every comment she'd laughed off. Every time she'd paid for something because he was between opportunities. She had loved him quietly. Endured patiently. Believed fully. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, something cracked. Across town, in a glass office overlooking the river, a man stood very still. Julian Cross watched the video once. He didn't react. Didn't speak. Didn't sit. He watched it again. Slower this time. He noticed things others didn't. The way Elara's smile faded half a second before the laughter started. The way she looked at Lydia first, not Caleb. The way she tried to stay upright even after her knees gave out. When the clip ended, the room stayed silent. The assistant across from him shifted nervously. "Do you want me to?" he began. Julian raised a hand. "No," he said quietly. He picked up his phone. Paused. Then said, almost to himself. "So that's why she didn't come in today." The assistant swallowed. "You know her?" Julian's jaw tightened. "Yes," he said. "I do." He turned back to the window, city lights reflecting faintly in the glass. The video began playing again on his phone. And this time, he didn't watch it like a stranger. He watched it like a man who understood exactly what had just been taken from her. The first thing Elara noticed was the silence. No notifications. No buzzing phone. No strangers demanding reactions. Just quiet. It felt unnatural, like the calm after something violent. She sat at her kitchen table long after sunrise, untouched mud cooling between her palms. Her reflection in the dark screen of her phone looked unfamiliar. Pale. Older. Like someone who'd aged overnight. She didn't cry. She had already done that. Instead, she stared at the wall and tried to understand how everything had unraveled so quickly. How one moment could erase years of effort. How loving someone carefully still hadn't protected her. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She flinched. No one knocked anymore. Another knock. Firmer. Controlled. Elara stood slowly, heart thudding as she crossed the room. She didn't look through the peephole. She already knew whoever it was had come intentionally. When she opened the door, Julian Cross stood in the hallway. Perfectly composed. Dark coat. Hands relaxed at his sides. Not urgent. Not dramatic. Just there. "Ms. Monroe," he said. Her throat tightened. Mr. Cross, she replied automatically. For 3 years, he had been a presence at the edge of her professional life. Seen through glass walls. Heard through measured instructions. Never close enough to touch, never distant enough to ignore. She hadn't expected him to be standing outside her apartment. "I'm sorry to come unannounced," he said. "May I come in?" She hesitated. Then stepped aside. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Julian took in the room quickly. Sparse furniture. Stacked books. The kind of place someone builds slowly, carefully. "You didn't come to work today," he said gently. She nodded. "They said I should take time off." He exhaled slowly. "That decision was reversed this morning." She blinked. "I don't understand." "You're not on leave," Julian continued. "You were reassigned temporarily. With full pay. No conditions." Her pulse spiked. "Why?" Julian met her eyes. "Because the situation was mishandled," he said. "And because you did nothing wrong." The words landed heavier than she expected. She sat down abruptly. He didn't rush to fill the silence. "Your name has been removed from internal discussions," he added. "Your access remains intact. Your role is secure." Her fingers curled into her sweater. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. Julian's gaze sharpened, not angry, just focused. "I know." That unsettled her more than anything else. Across the city, Caleb Hartman stared at his laptop in disbelief. The email was short. "Due to recent developments, we're withdrawing our offer." He refreshed the screen. Another notification appeared. Then another. Calls he made went unanswered. Messages stayed unread. By noon, his phone rang. Unknown number. "Yes," he answered quickly. A pause. Then a voice, calm and unfamiliar. "You're overleveraged," the voice said. "And the people backing you know it now." Caleb swallowed. "Who is this?" "Someone who dislikes public cruelty," the voice replied. "Consider this a lesson." The call ended. Caleb sat back slowly. For the first time since the rooftop, something close to fear crept in. Lydia noticed the shift that evening. Invitations disappeared. Messages went quiet. Her comment sections filled with questions she couldn't delete fast enough. She called Elara twice. No answer. She left a voice note instead. "I didn't know it would go this far," Lydia said softly. "You know that, right? We were all just caught up in the moment." The lie sounded thin even to her own ears. Back in her apartment, Elara stood by the window, watching traffic move below. Julian remained near the doorway, respectful distance maintained. "Why are you here?" she asked finally. He didn't answer right away. "When I hired you," he said, "I noticed something." She waited. "You listened," he continued. "Most people don't. They speak. They perform. You paid attention." She looked at him then. "I protected that kind of integrity before," Julian said. Quietly. Her chest tightened. "Is that what this is?" she asked. "Protection?" "Yes," he said simply. She shook her head. "I don't want pity." "This isn't pity." "Then what is it?" Julian's jaw tightened briefly. "This is accountability," he said. "For them. And responsibility for me." "For you?" "I saw the relationship," he admitted. "I had concerns. I chose not to intervene." Something flickered in his eyes then. Regret. Controlled, but real. "That was my mistake." The words caught her off guard. She had expected authority. Distance. Not ownership of fault. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "No," he agreed. "But I do owe myself better judgment." They stood in silence. Then Julian reached into his coat and placed a new phone gently on the table. "Your number was compromised," he said. "This one is secure. No social media. No contacts transferred unless you choose." She stared at it. I'm not taking money from you, she said. I'm not offering money. Then what are you offering? Time. Space. Safety. He didn't say the words. He didn't need to. You can stay home as long as you need, Julian said. Your apartment lease will be extended under my firm's housing agreement. Her breath caught. That's too much. He met her gaze steadily. No, he said. This is the minimum. She sat back down slowly. For the first time since the video went viral, her shoulders lowered. Not relief, but the absence of immediate danger. If you're still here, thank you. Subscribing really helps this channel grow. That night, Elara slept. Deeply. No dreams. No replayed laughter. Just rest. Across the city, Julian sat alone in his office long after the building emptied. He replayed the video one last time. Then deleted it. Not from the internet. From himself. He looked at his reflection in the dark window. You waited too long, he said quietly. For 3 years, he had mistaken restraint for virtue. Now he understood the cost. By morning, the narrative had begun to change. The video was still there. But new headlines appeared. Partnerships withdrawn. Consultant under investigation. Sources say more to come. Elara didn't look. She didn't need to. She felt the shift instead. The subtle return of breath. Julian's phone buzzed. Sir, his assistant said, they're asking questions. Julian straightened his cuffs. Let them, he replied. I'm done being quiet. The first thing Elara relearned was how to breathe. Not the shallow, careful breaths she'd taken for weeks, but the kind that filled her chest fully and left without effort. The kind you forget is possible when your body has been braced for impact too long. Julian didn't hover. That was the strangest part. He checked in once a day. Sometimes just a message. Sometimes nothing at all. No pressure to respond. No expectations disguised as kindness. Just consistency. And somehow, that steadiness did more for her than sympathy ever could. She returned to work quietly. No announcements. No apologies demanded of her. Her access was restored exactly where it had been. Her projects untouched, as if nothing had happened, and yet everything had. When she walked into the office that first morning, conversations paused. Not with mockery. With caution. People looked away quickly. A few nodded respectfully. One colleague murmured, "Glad you're back," as she passed. No one asked about the video. That alone felt like mercy. Julian didn't call her into his office. Instead, he appeared beside her desk that afternoon, hands in his pockets, expression neutral. You're adjusting well, he said. She looked up, surprised. You've been watching? He inclined his head slightly. I always do. The words should have unsettled her. Instead, they grounded her. The truth came out slowly. Not in headlines. Not in dramatic confrontations. Just erosion. Caleb's name began appearing in the wrong places. Quiet legal inquiries. Deals quietly dissolved. Invitations rescinded without explanation. One evening, Elara received a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Almost. Elara, Caleb's voice said, hoarse. Please. I just need to explain. She closed her eyes. There's nothing to explain, she replied calmly. You don't understand what's happening, he insisted. Everything's falling apart. People won't take my calls. My accounts are. She cut him off. You did this to yourself. Silence. Then softer. Smaller. I didn't think it would destroy you. That, more than anything, hardened something in her. You thought I would survive it quietly, she said. Like I always did. She ended the call before he could respond. Her hands trembled afterward. Julian noticed. He didn't ask. He simply slid a cup of tea onto the table during their late meeting and said, "You don't have to be strong in here." She swallowed. It was during one of those evenings, long after most of the office had emptied, that the distance between them shifted. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. They were reviewing reports side by side when the power flickered briefly, plunging the room into shadow before emergency lights came on. Elara startled. Julian didn't touch her. He simply said, softly, "You're safe." The words hit deeper than they should have. She exhaled shakily. "I don't like surprises anymore," she admitted. "I know," he replied. She turned to him then. "How?" Julian hesitated. "I watched how you handled uncertainty," he said. "Even before all of this. You prepared for impact quietly. Always bracing." She looked away. "That's not a compliment," she said. "No," he agreed. "It's a warning." They sat in silence. Then Elara spoke again. "Why didn't you say anything back then?" Julian's jaw tightened. "Because power complicates intent," he said. "And I wasn't sure my concern wouldn't become another thing taken from you." Her chest tightened at that. "You could have warned me." "Yes," he admitted. "I should have." The honesty disarmed her. Not an excuse. Not a defense. Just truth. The shift between them became noticeable. Not to others. To her. The way he waited for her to finish speaking, even when interrupted. The way his gaze softened when she smiled without realizing it. The way his voice dropped slightly when he spoke only to her. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing rushed. But something undeniably present. One night, she found herself lingering outside his office door, unsure why she hadn't left yet. "You can come in," he said without looking up. She did. They talked then. Not about work. About childhood. About loneliness in rooms full of people. About how success often came with a quiet kind of isolation no one warned you about. Julian told her about the first time he lost someone because he waited too long to act. "I thought restraint made me principled," he said. "Turns out, it just made me late." She listened. Really listened. And when he stopped speaking, she didn't rush to fill the space. That was when she realized it. She trusted him. Not because he was powerful, but because he never used that power to demand her gratitude. Lydia showed up at her door 2 weeks later. Elara almost didn't open it. But she did. Lydia looked smaller. Less polished. "I messed up," Lydia said immediately. "I was jealous. I wanted what you had without earning it." Elara studied her carefully. And I don't expect forgiveness," Lydia continued. "I just needed you to know I know now." Elara nodded once. "That's enough," she said. She closed the door gently. No satisfaction. No rage. Just closure. The night everything changed wasn't loud. There were no fireworks. No declarations. They were walking through the city after dinner, the air cool, the streets quieter than usual. Julian stopped near the river. "Elara," he said. She turned to him. "I need to be clear," he continued. "What I feel doesn't obligate you. I won't let it." Her heart skipped. "But I can't pretend it isn't there," he said. "And I won't act on it unless you choose it." Silence stretched between them. She searched his face. No entitlement. No urgency. Just presence. "I'm still rebuilding," she said honestly. "I know. I don't want to owe anyone love because they saved me." "You don't owe me anything," he said immediately. She inhaled slowly. "Then stay," she said. "Without promises. Without pressure." Julian nodded once. "That's all I want." They stood there, side by side, close but not touching. And for the first time since the night her life shattered, Elara felt something unfamiliar bloom beneath the scars. Not rescue. Not revenge. Possibility. The city didn't feel hostile anymore. That was the first thing Elara noticed. It wasn't that people had become kinder, or that the internet had suddenly developed empathy. It was subtler than that. She no longer felt like she was bracing for impact. Her days settled into a rhythm again. Morning coffee. Work she was good at. Evenings that didn't end with her replaying a single moment on a rooftop. Julian remained steady. Still measured. Still careful. But closer now. Not physically at first. Emotionally. The kind of closeness that showed up in small ways. Waiting for her after meetings. Walking her to the elevator without making a show of it. Sitting beside her instead of across the table during late nights. Nothing loud. Nothing rushed. One evening, as rain streaked softly against the office windows, Elara finished packing her bag and hesitated. "You're quiet," Julian observed. She smiled faintly. "I was thinking about how strange it is," she said. "That my life didn't end when I thought it did." Julian leaned back slightly, studying her. "Sometimes," he said, "collapse clears space." She nodded. "Caleb called again," she added. Julian didn't react outwardly, but she felt the shift. "What did you say?" he asked. "Nothing," she replied. "I didn't answer." A pause. "That was your choice," he said carefully. "Yes," she agreed. "And that's the part that feels different." Caleb's downfall wasn't dramatic. There was no courtroom scene. No public apology that went viral. Just absence. His name stopped appearing where it used to. His online presence faded. The circles that once amplified him went quiet. People moved on. And that, Elara realized, was the truest consequence of all. The night Julian kissed her didn't begin as anything special. They were leaving a charity event together, one of Julian's newer initiatives. Legitimate. Transparent. Carefully built. Elara had helped shape it. That mattered more to her than any title. The rain had returned by the time they stepped outside. Light, steady. Julian stopped beneath the awning. "Do you want me to call the car?" he asked. She shook her head. "No," she said. "I want to walk." He hesitated for only a second. Then nodded. They walked side by side, umbrellas forgotten, letting the rain dampen their coats. The city hummed around them. Distant traffic, muted lights, reflections shimmering on wet pavement. They reached the river without speaking. Julian stopped there. "Elara," he said. She turned to him. "There's something I need to say," he continued. "And you can stop me if it's too much." Her pulse quickened. "Go on." "I've spent most of my life believing control was safety," Julian said quietly. "That if I managed every variable, nothing important would be lost." He paused. "I was wrong." She watched him closely. "You taught me that presence matters more than power," he said. "And that love, real love, doesn't demand silence." Her chest tightened. "I don't want to be the man who intervened too late again," Julian continued. "But I also won't move faster than you're ready for." He looked at her then. Really looked. "I care for you," he said. "Not because you needed saving. But because you stood back up when the world tried to flatten you." The words settled between them. Elara stepped closer. Close enough to feel his warmth. To see the tension in his jaw, restrained, controlled, but real. "I'm still healing," she said softly. "I know. And I don't want a fairy tale," she added. "I want something honest." Julian nodded. "So do I." She reached for him first. Not urgently. Not dramatically. Her hand found his coat, fingers curling lightly at his side. The contact startled him, just a little. Enough to make it real. Julian lifted his hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His palm rested gently at her waist. Anchoring. Asking. She nodded once. That was all the permission he needed. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to change her mind. Their lips met softly. No fireworks. No urgency. Just warmth. And relief. The kind of kiss that feels like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. Elara closed her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't wondering what she was giving up. She was choosing. When they pulled apart, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "Thank you," he murmured. "For what?" "For trusting me," he said. "Even a little." She smiled. "Don't make me regret it." A rare smile touched his lips. "I won't." Months passed. Quietly. Intentionally. Elara moved into a new apartment. One she chose herself. Julian helped, but didn't insist. Didn't control. They built something slow. Dinners that turned into conversations. Conversations that turned into understanding. Arguments that ended in listening instead of walking away. She watched Julian change. Not overnight. Not for show. He delegated. Released. Built things that could survive without him controlling every detail. He learned to sit with uncertainty. She learned to ask for more. One afternoon, Elara received an email. From an unknown sender. It was short. "I see now what I destroyed. I won't ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to say. I understand." She didn't reply. She didn't need to. She deleted it and went back to work. The night they returned to the river felt intentional. Julian led her to the spot where they'd stood months earlier. "I don't have a speech," he said quietly. "And I won't promise perfection." She smiled. "Good," she said. "I don't want perfection." He took her hands. "I promise presence," Julian continued. "And honesty. Even when it's uncomfortable." She squeezed his fingers. "I promise to choose myself," she said. "And to choose you because I want to, not because I'm afraid of being alone." His breath caught. "That's all I've ever wanted," he said. He pulled her into an embrace then. Firm. Protective. Real. Elara rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady, human, flawed. Not a billionaire. Not a savior. Just a man who showed up. The video still existed somewhere on the internet. She knew that. But it no longer defined her. Because the moment that shattered her life didn't end it. It redirected it. Elara had lost her job, her fiancé, and her dignity in front of millions. But she gained something quieter. Agency. Clarity. Love that didn't require her to disappear to survive it. And as she stood by the river with Julian's arms around her, city lights reflecting in the water like fragments of everything she'd endured, she realized something else. The worst day of her life hadn't ruined her. It had introduced her to herself. And sometimes, she wondered, if the people who laughed that night ever realized they had only witnessed the beginning. If you stayed until the end, you're appreciated. Subscribe for more original billionaire and revenge stories like this. And share this with someone who needs to hear it.